Rock 100.5, the KATT, Jay Ramone, Rocklahoma 2017, and you may be able to hear Mark Slaughter on stage in the background on the main stage, ripping up the guitar as we are all enjoying it. We're sitting here with John from Skillet. Thank you so much for stopping by. Great to see you again.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here, chilling out with you guys and listening to Slaughter at the same time.
Yeah, it's inaccurate right now because he's playing in the afternoon and he is clearly awake.
That is true, but
you know,
still
the idea.
Still a smash hit.
He did the standard like mic check that 80s vocalists would do when he was in here doing an interview, the full on like
yeah.
and blew us away. Like he's still got it.
You know, it's a different era for musicians in general. Even fantastic guitar players today don't play like that. It's just a different thing, and I grew up in that era, so I have a real every time we come here I got to watch White Snake. Today I got to watch Slaughter. Tonight Def Leppard. I love coming to Rocklahoma. I like that they have new and older acts, classic rock, newer metal. I love it.
The very first rock band that I ever got to see live was the Nixons when I was a freshman in high school. Skillet, no stranger to working with Zach Malloy, who is now a Nashville transplant. How was that process for you guys?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, we met and wrote a tune together and had a great time. I wasn't as familiar with the Nixons, and I learned a little bit. and we had fun, a lot of fun writing. Very nice fella.
He's definitely changed his career completely and made it to where he's writing all kinds of songs for all different artists of all genres. It's pretty cool to see a fellow Okie, make it like that.
Yeah, it's always good just to see people. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, it's good to see nice people do stuff and change their career path. Music is music, so a lot of people say, if you can write punk, you can write pop. If you can write rock, you can write whatever. It's all a little similar. You just kind of have to try new things, and he's definitely one of those people that's been able to do that.
Do you ever see yourself taking on that role of just the songwriter?
I'm not against it. I'm kind of open to whatever. I hope. I'm so lucky I get to perform. It's my 21st year with Skillet. So getting to perform for me is my favorite thing. I love writing, but my dream would be to, be 70 and still playing Rocklahoma. Everyone.
Yeah.
But sure, I'd be open to that as well.
Well, I mean, Def Leppard probably pushing 70 at this point.
I don't know how
it's
Def
feasible.
Leppard is, but man, I cannot wait. I love me some Def Leppard. This series is one of the best rock albums ever made, in my opinion.
So out of the 80s, you say you're an 80s fan. Which was the absolute one for you?
Oh my gosh, I love The Crew. Oh man, Metallica is one of my all-time favorite bands. I don't think of Metallica as an 80s band, even though they, because they
to me, they're one of those timeless bands.
Their legacy, yeah. So excluding Metallica, which I think is fair, I would probably say Skid Row. I wanted to be Sebastian Bach, and I think he's just the greatest rock singer of all time.
Have you seen him live lately?
No.
He's still got it, bro.
I would love to play with Sebastian
It
Bach.
is unbelievable. He came by last year, stopped by the booth, and the live show, his vocals are spot on.
That's
what's
so cool.
Weird about Skid Row, too, is technically not an 80s band either, because the first record came out the end of 89, and Slave to the Grind was 92.
Yes.
It's so weird how those bands, when they're at the end of a decade, how that decade bleeds
era,
over.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was the whole thing. It was funny because there were some bands that I don't consider to be glam metal, but they're very smartly, they kind of looked glam metal. Cinderella was really a classic rock act, really. I'm a huge Cinderella fan.
Tom Kiefer is the man.
Oh my gosh. I still run to a Long Cold Winter. I still run to it at least once a month.
That's awesome.
So, but they smartly, the way they look, the way they dress, so they kind of go in the glam metal. But Skid Row was really more of a rock act, dirty. In fact, it got dirtier, didn't it? Slave to the Grind was a dirty rock
maybe
album.
the only band that ever said, no, our second record is going to be heavier, and it was true.
Yeah, absolutely. When I got Slave to the Grind, I could not believe how nasty that record was. Still that's one of my favorite of the kind of, that era of rock music for sure.
What are some of Skillet's influences? You guys come from the Christian market first, where you have a massive fan base, but then you've also stretched across the board secularly and have impacted the same amount of fans on the other side of things, bringing it all together. What were the bands that kind of influenced you to make the sound that you guys have?
Sure. I think that my story is a little strange. I'll give you a brief synopsis, which is that I grew up in a very religious family, and I could not wear black. I couldn't listen to any music with drums. Drums was the devil's instrument. You know, guitars were evil. You couldn't have long hair. So I was raised on classical music. My mom was a piano teacher, so I grew up playing classical piano and voice. She was a voice teacher as well. So by the time I got into metal, you know, in the 80s, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing Bon Jovi.
Right.
It wasn't like, you know, I'd never heard rock music. All of my friends, every weight room, every time I go to my buddies at Metallica, AC/DC, and I fell in love with it, with metal. So I think that Skillet's music is very much a montage of classical music and metal, and it makes it sound kind of theatrical, much in the way of like a Fleetwood Mac, Kansas, or even Meatloaf. You kind of put, if you could put like Meatloaf and Breaking Benjamin and Metallica in a blender, you might come up with Skillet.
I think that's one of the best analogies I've ever heard, because that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, oh good. Thank you very much. I'm professional.
So
well, maybe.
21 years performing with Skillet. How do you kind of reinvent yourself over and over again to draw in new fans and continue this career like you guys have?
Yeah.
There hasn't been a lull for you guys. It's been constant growth all the way through.
You know, I think that there's been a few keys for Skillet. One is that we treat our fans really well. Always treat the fans good. Always appreciate them. Make a record for your fans, not for, I mean, not to be rude, but not for the label. You know, not for what's. You have to listen to the label. You got to try to have stuff you think is going to appeal, but you got to make the fans happy. Something that Skillet's done. Some people think it's a great idea. Some people think it's a bad idea. Skillet hasn't been afraid to try new things. And sometimes in the rock world, and I know this because I love rock music, we do something and I go, that's actually pretty not rock and roll to do. Skillet has some hip-hop influence every once in a while, some EDM influence, synthesizer, some pop. I recognize that it's not very like metal, but why not try it? Because that's what young people are listening to. So Skillet has a fan base that is very diverse. A lot of frankly young teenagers that say, I don't really like rock music, but I like Skillet for some reason. And I think that's what we need. So we need to push the boundaries a bit, but still keep true to what you're doing. Still throw in a shredding, arpeggiating guitar solo with double kick.
Yeah.
For good measure. At the same time, as a lot of these kids have never heard a guitar solo before that like Skillet, you know. So we do the harmony leads, and we do the double kick, and we do the screaming and all that. But you put it on a blender and you try something kind of fun, you know. So that's what I try to do. Some people might love that, some people might not like that, but that's my story. I'm sticking to it, as I say.
On the current single, Back from the Dead, there's basically, was it scatting almost that it starts off with and kind of gets through? So, I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about. Of just
that's almost throwback, isn't it? You know, that's almost something maybe Aerosmith would have done, almost.
Or even beyond that, like back like 50s, like the origins of rock and roll. It's very like Buddy Holly, like that kind of.
Absolutely. It's very much, and the beat is very Buddy Holly too. It's like that double time kind of. I stole the drum beat from Kickstart My Heart.
Okay.
When I met Nikki Sixx recently, and I said, I need you to know I stole that drum beat from, and he said, that's okay, I can't remember who he said he stole it from, some 1950. I stole it from, it was a really funny story.
So it's probably stolen 8 times over at this point, and you can probably trace it back somehow.
Of course, but it gives you that throwback feeling, and that as well for Skillet was different because we've never done anything like that.
Yeah.
So why not push the boundaries a little bit?
Well, John, we really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you at Rocklahoma, and always looking forward to seeing you come back through Oklahoma City.
Well, thank you so much. I enjoyed chatting with you guys about metal and rock and everything else, man. Lots of fun.
For sure.
We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
No problem.